Set 1 shall be played on Newkirk. Spawning in the bottom right-hand position as the Green Terran from WOONGJIN Stars. Bit of an amateur player. His name is HammEr.
His opponent on the opposite side of Newkirk, Redevelopment City, is going to be Jangbi from Samsung Khan, spawning as Red Protoss.
Jangbi, one of the more accomplished players in Pro League and overall in Starcraft Brood War.
In fact, Jangbi has been strong in this particular matchup near the end of Brood War. He won 2 OSLs back-to-back, defeating Fantasy twice in a row, and even in Starcraft2 Pro League, he is 8-3 in this particular matchup, even defeating Flash a couple of times in Starcraft2.
I also want to point out that WOONGJIN Stars has not lost the Samsung Khan the entire season. And this is technically the weakest lineup they're fielding here that we've ever seen from them, at least in this season of Pro League. So this would be a good shot for Samsung Khan to actually grab at least one victory over their opponents, WOONGJIN Stars, before the end of the season.
And there's no pressure for Samsung Khan to actually win today, as long as they show great matches against WOONGJIN Stars. That's all they want right now. You know, realistically, they cannot make it into playoffs. They cannot go to the finals. Now, WOONGJIN Stars, after getting the name the WOONGJIN Stars, it's their first time in the finals. So last time when they were in the finals, they were called the HammEr Stars, and that was back in 2004 Grand Finals. They call it the Grand Finals because they have multiple rounds of Pro League, and they had finals for each round of Pro League. And at the end of the year, they had one Grand Final where they gathered all the teams that did well during those rounds, and at the Grand Final, they'll declare a team a winner for the entire season.
All right, looks like we got a Reaper opening here from HammEr. Just going to use that Reaper to do a little bit of scouting here. And perfectly standard opening to go nowadays against Protoss players. You know, in Heart of the Swarm, the Reapers, they automatically have the speed added to them, and you don't need the tech lab to build Reapers. So it's really helped out things a lot for Terran players overall to use the Reaper early on to make it a more viable unit in the early stages. And we see Reapers in pretty much every matchup pretty consistently now.
Yeah, so the player HammEr, if you guys don't really know about him, his previous name was Rudy. We saw him once in Pro League a few months ago, and his match was against Reality from Samsung Khan. He did lose a match, but now this is his second time in Pro League under the new ID HammEr.
Gotta say, Rudy was a bit of a funny name. I like HammEr a lot more. Sounds pretty awesome, man. All right, Nexus opening here from Jangbi, and then low ground expansion from HammEr here. Overall, we're seeing very standard openings from each player here. It's nothing really to be too concerned about. Do see a pretty fast factory here, but perfectly acceptable after going for the Reaper opening. It's pretty common.
I like this opening by HammEr right now, because some players, they try to play a little bit safe against the players who are really strong. So now Rudy's saying, you know what, I'm going to take this game to my style. I like to go for the helmet drops, then I'm going to go for it. It doesn't matter if Jangbi is a Pro League, Pro League monster. I don't care if he's a PBT monster with 8-3 record. I'm going to play the game to my style, and I'm going to make sure those helmets are going to do damage.
All right, we have a fast Twilight Council on the way from Jangbi. We have been seeing a little bit more of this recently, faster Twilight Councils, maybe immediately after the Robo as well. So pretty cool to see that from him. We're going to have to see if he goes into the fast DTs or not. DTs have been getting a little bit more playtime in this matchup as well, but the Reaper moving around, it may actually end up scouting this. There's not a lot of defense there. The Reaper, it looks like it's going to... Oh, it doesn't scout it.
And that's only because HammEr didn't play too many broadcast matches. If he actually did, he wouldn't feel nervous to actually sacrifice a Reaper to go inside the main base and get a full scouting on his opponent. Rather, he was satisfied with the fact that his opponent is taking an expansion. And if you look at it, HammEr, all he wants to see is that his opponent is not going for something too cheesy off of one base. As soon as he saw the Nexus, he said, you know what, I see the gateway inside the main base, I see the Nexus, I am completely fine with this. I'm just going to follow this up with the helmet drops.
All right, well, this is interesting. We have a really fast blink opening here from Jangbi. The Reaper, though, may end up scouting it this time around. It does see the fast Robo, and it's going to most likely see the Chrono on the Twilight Council. Yes, he knows the blink is coming now. This is going to definitely put a wrench in the Jangbi's plan here. The blink stalkers are really powerful if the Terran opponent doesn't know about them, but if they prepare, then not as effective overall.
Yeah, so we're going to have to see how HammEr defends against this particular attack. He needs to get a little bit more units out and starts building a bunker. Few at the ramp and few on top of the ramp to make sure that his opponent Jangbi cannot easily blink inside the main base. But for now, since he made the armory, since he has a factory with a reactor, why not go for the Hellbats?
Well, Jangbi going to barely miss the drop here. And the second scout, though, I think there's a mothership core near there. And Jangbi doesn't have a lot of units for defense at home. The Stalkers, the Blink's about to complete. The Blink would be amazing against the medevac here with the Hellbats in it. But, you know, they're not at home right now. And Jangbi's going to be warping in more units offensively in this position. All right, here come the Hellbats. We're going to have to see how Jangbi reacts here. Splitting up his workers, going to lose a few. And now the medevac trying to boost towards the natural there, and instantly those probes are running away. Oh no, the probes! Some of them getting picked off there. A good amount of damage has been done by the Hellbats. The Stalkers, they're chasing those Hellbats, and the probes are now outside the natural at this point. It looks like no more of them are going to die, but certainly the damage has been done there by these Hellbats.
Yeah, and also the key point is he defended against the Blink Stalkers from his opponent. 8 probes have been killed so far, and he saved the medevac, which is a crucial part to the Hellbat drops. We see the Hellbat just not work out so well for some of the players because medevacs always get focus fired, and the Protoss players have been working a lot better to take out those medevacs during the drops. However, HammEr saved his today, which means he's going to save up more medevacs when he decides to push out later in the game.
All right, there's too many units here for Jangbi to actually engage head-on. I mean, he can try sniping a few units here and there, maybe like go after a Hellbat or something like that, but I mean, there's like Marauders, there's a lot of Marines in the mix as well as medevacs, and Stim about to complete here. This is going to pretty much mean that Jangbi does not want to engage in this army head-on. The Stim units can actually kind of chase him down a little bit.
Yeah, well, he needs to use the Blink Micro to his fullest ability, and all he has to do right now is make sure his opponent HammEr does not overpower him with the units that he's making right now, and make sure the medevac drops do not leave, because he is taking a fast third Nexus after realizing that his Blink Stalkers are useless.
The Blink Stalkers, though, they definitely serve their purpose here. They kind of put a lot of pressure on his opponent here, and we're going to potentially see a move out from the Terran player here. Now, the disadvantage of the Stalkers is that sometimes your Robotech's a little bit delayed here if you go for the Blank, because you're investing a lot of extra gas into these units here, but still, overall, not too bad. It does allow you to get a bit of a faster third, and nice pick off there as well. Yeah,
Jangbi just trying to utilize his micro to the fullest ability right now, just trying to delay his opponent from pushing out little by little, because he knows that if he just buys enough time, he's going to have the Colossus out, he can stabilize on 3 bases, and suddenly you're in a situation where HammEr, he had the advantage with the unit composition, but he is far behind in economy.
Yep, nice. Another pick off on the medevacs there, and just being really annoying with these Blink Stalkers here. And these units are getting split up here. Jangbi has to decide where he wants to go with these units. Blink's out, but he's losing a lot of Stalkers here, and this is the problem. Stalkers are extremely fragile against the Terran army, and the Marauders absolutely just eat them up alive. Jangbi lost a lot of Stalkers there, and this could open up potential timing here for his opponent HammEr to try to take out that third base and potentially even end the game.
He does have a Colossus finishing up right now, but there's a lot of Hellbats and Marauders mixed in, and he doesn't have that many gateway units. In fact, if you look at the supply, that's only 118 to 88 of Jangbi.
The force fields are decent. The Colossus is out as well. These units are... Oh, we have a Hellbat potentially dropping on some of the Sentries and Stalkers here. Colossus low on health. It gets picked off as well. Jangbi, unfortunately, now in a pretty bad position, but with the Nexus Cannon, he should be able to just barely hold on here. Yeah, with these additional Stalkers, I think with some good micro control, he should be able to hold here, but still, this attack can be very annoying, and the Nexus getting low on health, potentially, it will get picked off here. It's going to be really close. Can the Marauders do it? The Stalkers need to be focus firing down on these Marauders. So close! The Nexus barely survives with only a hit or 2 remaining on its life.
I'm still surprised that HammEr did not go for the Nexus at all. He had tons of time to go for the Nexus and just take it out immediately. In fact, he is taking a third command center behind this. If he took out the Nexus, Jangbi would have been so far behind in economy. He doesn't have that much AoE units to defend either. So I'm a little bit curious why HammEr did not finish off the Nexus.
All right, Nexus Cannon going down in the main here. The Hellbat's going to try to do a bit of damage, and they don't manage to grab any probes here. Very nice reaction from Jangbi. Also smart focus firing down the medevac as well. And, oh, these units are going to move in. Are they going to try to go after
Focus
the
fire.
Nexus? They certainly could. And, they do indeed get that third Nexus as well. The Stalkers, though, with the blink, able to pick off a few units. Definitely the better trade for HammEr. But overall, you know, Jangbi, he's not in a terrible position, but he is a little bit behind.
Yeah, and for HammEr, he doesn't need to worry about too many things right now because he sees that there's a low Colossus count. He did lose a third Nexus right away because HammEr sniped it, and Jangbi cannot easily push out on the map. He only has Blink Stalkers, 1 Colossus. That's nothing against what HammEr has right now. So Jangbi, all he can do is defend, and get his economy back up. Also, his upgrades are lacking right now. 2 Forges just went up, while HammEr right now already has 1-1, so HammEr already has the upgrade advantage against his Protoss opponent.
He's also got his 2-2 about halfway done. We're going to have a 2-0 Terran against a 0-0 Protoss.
2-2 Terran.
Yeah, at a certain point in this game, so it's just such a scary position for Jangbi to be in. His units, I mean, they're going to just completely melt to this army, and there's nothing that he's going to be able to do about it. Even if he has Storm in the army, even if he has great force fields and a lot of Colossi, it's just his units are going to die a lot quicker.
Yeah, and those helmets, Hammers, Hellbats, and Hellbats and Marauders in this composition, they're not going to melt to the Colossus and the Storms because Jangbi lacks those upgrades. So if HammEr realizes this and has a good number of Vikings, he could just go for the attack and finish the game.
Another nice pick off here on the Observer, and yeah, he gets it. That's, I think, like this third Observer that's been sniped here, and Jangbi, I guess, not keeping these Observers in smart locations here, or his opponent HammEr just being really, you know, active with trying to pick off those units here. And, you know, Jangbi still has a decently sized army here, maybe with a good engagement. He could make something work. The 2-2, though, it's very close to completing here. The Terran army going to move forward here, but the Viking count very low for the amount of Colossus here. And with the Nexus Cannon, it looks like Jangbi will survive, at least for now, the fight another day. More additional Vikings going to be added in. The weakness of this army, though, there aren't many medevacs. Jangbi has done an amazing job at constantly picking them off throughout the course of this game.
And in fact, if you have only 1 medevac with the Terran army, you can't easily engage it. Even if you stim, you don't have the medevacs to heal up the units. That's the reason why HammEr cannot easily push into the third base right now. So it's a little bit better for him to get some Vikings and medevacs out and just fortify this position such that Jangbi cannot push out.
All right, Jangbi just staying in a very solid position here. I think his 1-1 about to complete. The Stalkers doing a good job trying to pick off a few free units here and there. And remember, like you mentioned, well, hold on now. Looks like we have a big all-in coming in here from HammEr. This is it. He wants to make this work, bringing the SCVs into his main army composition. But the Zealot count, the Colossus count is still pretty impressive here. The 1-1 has completed, so the upgrade advantage, it's still solid for HammEr, but overall it's not as detrimental as being up 2-0 over 0-0.
And what he really needs to do right now is melt the Colossus with the Vikings. He doesn't have a critical number, and remember, Jangbi does have the Blink Stalkers to go for the Vikings right away.
All right, one of the Colossus has been picked off here, but overall, it's looking pretty solid here for Jangbi. I think he's going to be able to clean up half of this army, but the other half may end up doing a lot of damage here. The Nexus has been picked off. Jangbi, can he hold here? Supply-wise, he is actually ahead of his opponent. He needs to keep the Colossus alive, utilizing those Blink Stalkers as well. It looks like Jangbi is going to just barely hold against this army, even though he lost his third Nexus. His opponent, HammEr, has lost almost every single SCV.
But remember, Terran players, they have the mules to back the SCVs up, so even if they lost a lot of SCVs, they can still stay in this game. So now it really depends on how much HammEr's SCVs have been left, how much of HammEr's SCVs has been pulled throughout the whole engagement, because remember, Jangbi is only down to 2 mining bases where the main base actually is almost dried up at this point.
Oh, Stalker's getting a nice pick off here on one of those Vikings there. Looks like the SCV count is actually still pretty solid now. He's, you know, making a few more. He's got a lot from his main and natural. So he's getting the +3 attack as well, not the +3 armor yet. He could definitely go for that soon. And you know what? This game's not over yet. It's certainly not over. I think that the Terran player, he did just enough damage to the Nexus and the Jangbi's economy by constantly picking off that Nexus still on the stay in this game here. The problem now is that Jangbi has Storm, he's getting his 2-2, and the longer the game goes on, I think the better it's going to be for him.
Of course, definitely. Remember, we had a period where Jangbi had 0-0 and his opponent had a 2-2. This is a much better situation for him, where he's going to have the 2-2 and his opponent, at the very most, is going to have +3/+2 because he forgot the +3 armor upgrade. His opponent, Jangbi, just trying to apply pressure, but all he has to do right now is make sure the third Nexus does not fall to HammEr's units.
Indeed, losing that third Nexus would be really annoying here. HammEr really just macroing up pretty intensely here. I think he wants to go for an attack here. I think actually both players are very intent here on being offensive. Now, this time around we have Storm. We have a lot of High Templars. We have 0 Ghosts on the field. So if there's an actual fight, Jangbi is going to crush the Terran army. And once again, SCV is being pulled off the mineral line to try to take out this third expansion. But Jangbi, he's got the Storm. His +2 armor is almost complete. His +2 attack is over halfway finished as well. The army size much smaller than the last one that we saw from our Terran guy, HammEr, here. And so the supplies are very even. The storms,
HammEr, why? The storms are just eating away on the SCVs. And look at the SCV count. That's all melted right now. And with the 3 Colossus backing this up, all Jangbi has to do is bait in his opponent and put storms on his opponent's army. Perfect storms go down as Jangbi defends against the attack.
Jangbi easily thwarting the Terran aggression here. The Vikings may end up picking off that last Colossus, but the storms just did so much damage there. And, you know, that's what happens when you don't have Ghosts. The rest of these Zealots, Stalkers, the Colossus should be able to eventually finish off this Terran army. HammEr now forced to retreat. He's going to lose a few more units here. Jangbi backing off now. He didn't lose his expansion this time around. Supply-wise, 137 to 88 with our Protoss player Jangbi in a pretty solid lead now. He's free to get his 4th base. He's free to pretty much do whatever he wants now. It looks like our Terran player is going to be pulling more SCVs with this attack. No. Bring those to that 3rd base there, but I wouldn't put it past him to do it again. And up, GG is called. HammEr realizing that he was just too far behind and couldn't handle the attack and tenacity of Jangbi.
The first time he pulled the SCVs, he did a good amount of damage by taking out the Nexus and getting a lot of units. The second time he pulled the SCVs, he did not scout to see if his opponent Jangbi had the storms available, because remember, the power of the SCV pull-in is against a certain type of Protoss army, either only Colossus based or the Templar based. If you have both of them mixed in for the Protoss army, they can use the Storms and Colossus to eat away on the SCVs before the main engagement begins.
Alright, the score 1-0, Jangbi ahead of HammEr. You know, HammEr showing a little bit of potential there. You know, he didn't play too bad, but Jangbi, you know, this is a matchup that he is just absolutely stellar, and it's not a weak matchup for him at all. So maybe against the lesser Protoss he could have won, but certainly not against Jangbi. The next match is going to be Oregon versus Stork, another TvP, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this commercial break.